these two, who are both from Spokane Valley, Washington, are now locked up in Coeur d'Alene, which is where Task Force 9 is located. You can bet they're busy trying to figure out who supplied Holmberg with the deadly pills. But as I mentioned, these guys aren't talking, and probably wisely so considering what we've learned about the Fetty Bros thus far. It's on August 15th of 2021 that an informant provides the task force with information that cracks the case wide open and puts the task force directly onto the Fetty Bros. Let's compare the timeline of information provided to law enforcement by the informant with the whereabouts and criminal record of Kara in August of 2021. On August 12, 2021, Kara is charged with 2 counts of felony drug possession and possession with intent to deliver. These are the charges that she was still dealing with around the time of the murders. On August 13th, a custody order of the sheriff is entered. And while it doesn't specify, I do have reason to believe that she was taken into custody on August 13th and spent the next 10 days in Kootenai County Jail, which, if you don't know, is located in Coeur d'Alene, the same city where the DEA Task Force 9 is located. So just 2 days after Kara's arrest, on August 15th of 2021, the confidential source provides the DEA with Snapchat video showing Caleb Carr, one of the Fetty Bros, preparing to board an airplane with a small red bag. The source said that Carr was flying back to Tacoma with half a kilo of cocaine. On August 18th, Hunter O'Mealy, another one of the Fetty Bros, was stopped by law enforcement on I-5 near Chehalis and was being followed in a separate car by Gudino Pena. A search warrant was obtained for both cars, where investigators found 40,000 counterfeit oxy pills, several firearms, and $16,000 in cash. I believe they bonded out here, but it's clear at this point they knew that the feds were onto them. On August 23rd, Kara Kernodle is ordered into the custody of the sheriff. And while it doesn't indicate whether this means she was let out of jail, I do have reason to believe that Kara was released from custody on this date. If you scroll down to bond settings, 8/23/21 is a listed date. Also, during this time, her hearings in this case would be vacated or postponed until October, when she failed to appear at a status conference hearing, and then a warrant was subsequently issued for her arrest. So I do have reason to believe that she was free, not in custody, from August 23rd until the hearing where she failed to appear. There's no other indication in a change in her custody status. So is it a coincidence that on August 23rd of 2021, as Kara is let out of custody, the very next day, on August 24th, the confidential source did a controlled buy with Carr and Belovich near downtown Spokane? We also know that Kara was staying in Spokane before the murders, and she does have an extensive criminal history there as well. So she knows what's going on in Spokane, and she's connected to these people through drugs. During the controlled buy, Carr gave the source 20 pounds of marijuana candy, 2,000 pills laced with fentanyl, and 6 phones. Carr believed the source could make the phones invisible to law enforcement. Instead, the source gave the phones to the DEA, and they were able to extract data from Carr's phone. On September 6th, the DEA learned that Carr and O'Mealy would be passing through Spokane, and they met with the confidential source to exchange payment for the August 24th buy. They met in a parking lot in Spokane Valley while DEA surveyed the handoff. Belovich was also in the car during this controlled buy. As it became clear that law enforcement may be tracking them, the Fetty Bros fled to Arizona and attempted to obtain fake identifications to escape to Mexico. On September 12th, they make it to Tucson, Arizona, and over the next 2 days, the confidential source learns that Carr and O'Mealy got 10,000 pills from a Mexican source, were running illegals, and were advertising on Snapchat to recruit drivers. Several days later, O'Mealy and Belovich returned to Tacoma. On the 18th, the DEA learned that O'Mealy and Carr wanted to ship fentanyl-laced pills to the confidential source in Spokane. The source met with the postal inspector to make a shipping label to send $5,000 to a mailbox in Tacoma associated with Carr and O'Mealy's business. O'Mealy then shipped the pills once he received the tracking number for the money. The package was intercepted and 2,000 pills were recovered. September 25th is the attempted murder of one of their associates in Lakewood, Washington, that they believed to be cooperating with law enforcement. So basically, they thought this guy was a snitch and tried to kill him, firing 40 rounds at him, and he miraculously survived, suffering a collapsed lung, and he's paralyzed from the waist down and will almost certainly never walk again. Court documents say that Caleb Carr told the confidential source about the shooting involving O'Mealy and Gudino Pena, and the source then forwarded that information to law enforcement. The next day, on September 26th, Jamie Belovich, who is the female co-defendant, was stopped by police with large volumes of fentanyl-laced pills. A couple days later, on September 29th, Caleb Carr contacted the confidential source, telling them that Jamie Belovich bonded out using her home as collateral. Carr said it made him suspicious, and if Belovich was cooperating with police, he would kill her. This is what he's telling the confidential informant who is working with law enforcement. Just 3 days after they nearly killed someone who they thought was a snitch. So you can imagine the sense of fear that the informant was feeling at this time. This is significant because it provided the authorities with the address of where the trio were hiding out. 2 weeks later, on October 13th, DEA, U.S. Marshals, and U.S. Postal Inspection Service arrested O'Mealy at the address provided by the confidential source in Tucson, Arizona. The next day, Carr was located in a motel room near Tucson after texting the informant that he was with Gudino Pena. Carr was taken in on an arrest warrant and indictment. Gudino Pena was also arrested.